Okay, so we were talking about API request, and I'm sure in the last you said that someone mentioned that Daniel had talked about promises, fulfilled promises, pending promises, yeah, asynchronous functions and asynchronous operations and all that. So that takes care of a lot. So we're going to be looking at API requests today. So I'm going to do some theory today, just explain some things theoretically, and then I believe that by if we're able to finish this theory on time today, then we'll do practical. If not, it will be tomorrow we'll do the practicals. I believe if you're able, okay, Lucy, that's fine. Okay, but if we're able to complete this theory today, then perfect. We'll just enter the practical state today. So API requests, right? So let me see how API requests work. So basically, does anyone have an idea as to what API means? Has anybody ever encountered the word API? Anybody? Can you hear me? How am I talking to myself? Vivian. I knew I was expecting your hand to be up since. Okay, Vivian, go ahead.
Okay, from my little understanding, API is an acronym that stands for Application Program Interface. Um, API helps one to get information from a particular source. Let's assume, okay, you're working on a particular application and maybe you want to get an information to work with. You could fetch API from a different source to work with on that particular application you're working on. I don't know if what I said make any sense.
Yeah, I think you just made my job easier this evening.
No, did you hear
I'm
me?
not sure. Yeah, I heard you. I heard you. I say it just made my job easier this evening. You practically just explained what API is. So API means application programming interface.
Okay.
So if you have a resource in a different location, just as you've mentioned, and you want to access that resource from that location, use API to actually access that information. So API is more like a messenger. It's more like not a messenger, yeah, a messenger. Use API, send the API to go get something and get it to you on your own local machine or your own different resource, right? Now, sometimes these resources could be within the same server, or they can be with from different servers. When I mean they can be from the same server. For example, if I'm doing building a payment platform, for example, my authentication, my wallet details, my profile details will be me requesting information from the resource within my own server. When it now comes to actual payment, since building a payment gateway is going to be very, very expensive, most likely I will have to use the API from a different payment gateway. More like probably I could use Paystack, I could use Flutterwave, I could use any of them that exist out there now. And this will require you to have what we call an API key. So an API key is basically more like something like what's the name now? A token that gives you access to a particular resource. Now there are some resources that is necessary that you must have a token to access them. For some, you don't need a token. For some, they will necessarily demand a token because those tokens sometimes make it possible that they are individualized to one person. Okay, so how API requests work? The first of all is that the client sends an API request, more like makes a request. The server processes the request, interacts with the resources, and the response is sent back to the client. So what you do is this, just like someone mentioned earlier, that Daniel mentioned something that regards to promises. When you make a request and it's processing, at that point, a promise is sent back. But that promise, you have to wait for it to be fulfilled for you to now fetch your response. Yes. So you have an API. Okay. You have an API that says that you're trying to get information from probably Instagram Reels or Instagram posts. You want to access that particular API, want to get that post from Instagram. Instagram can give you what we call an API. It always comes in the form of a uniform resource locator, URL. It always comes in the form of a URL. This that URL. So you pass the information, it processes it, because sometimes the URL can be the same, but the process that needs that request needs could be different. Like https facebook.com/feeds, feeds, feeds. Now, feeds can come into different requests, because the first feed could be a get request, or a post request, a put request, a patch request, a delete request, as many requests as exist in JavaScript. So when that request is made, server processes the request, now gets to the resources. Now there is always the client side and the server side, and there's always the database. Client, server, and database. Now, the client is basically what we have been interacting with all through this the state of this training. This taking, we have been interacting with the client side. Now, how's the physical interaction? Now, when we interact physically, you're not interacting with any server, just interacting with your local machine, client side. Now, when you want to get an information from the database, when you want to get an information from a stored data somewhere, a data table somewhere, you will necessarily need an API to actually pass that API through the server, right? Now, the API, you pass that information, that request through the API that checks your database, processes the request, and see what does this person want to do in that database, gets the information, and sends the response back to the client. So let's keep moving. What next? Move. Okay, types of HTTP methods. I'm going to stay here a little. So there are a number of methods in HTTP rather. In web development, there are a number of HTTP methods, but the most popular ones are going to be listed next. Get request. How we call get request. The purpose of get request is to retrieve data from a server. So you have a list of market women, a list of food types, a list of students, a list of whatever it is that exists, called lists. Now, when you're trying to get access list from the server, you use what we call a get request. Now, example use case is fetching a list of users. So there are a list of users, list of members or something. There's a list of users, probably users of a particular product, and you want to retrieve that list, right? So you use your get request. That's why you have example fetch this api.com/users. Now, sometimes when you're using either fetch or Axios, most times it's very possible that you can even ignore the get, because naturally when you pass a request like that, a lot of times the natural response is just get. So when there is no direct specification of saying this is this kind of request, a lot of times the system automatically implements it as get. Now there's a few characteristics of get request. Data is sent in the URL. The data information just exists in the URL. Then it is safe and it is idempotent. So what does idempotent basically mean? Whether you apply that what's the name, that operation once, or you apply it multiple times, what's the name, it produces the same result. In other words, when you're using a get request, every time it produces the same kind of results. Either you do it alone or you do it multiple times, it produces the same set of results from the database. Nothing is changing. Now, response contains the data. So the response from a get request now actually contains the data you need. Post request. Post request is used to send data to the server. Example, submitting a form. Want to submit a form, you use a post request. So characteristics, data is sent in the request body. Now, remember in get request, we mentioned that the data exists is in the URL. The data is sent in the URL. Here now, data is sent in the request body. May create a new resource. A lot of times, post request is used to create a new resource. Now, sometimes you don't necessarily create a new request using post, a new resource rather using post. Sometimes I've seen worked with a few backend developers, and they can give you a post request that you can use to update data, which is not bad in a sense of it, but there are other better tools to use for that. So if you are writing, for example, the fetch can use HTTPS. So this is the URL, right? This is the method post headers. All these are going to be explained as we go on. Headers, content type, application JSON. This is the body now. JSON.pingify name John Doe. I guess no questions so far as we keep moving. So we have put request. Put request is basically used to update or replace a resource. To update or replace a resource. So we need to change a resource. We need to update the name of a person. So my name in that when I filled that form was Emmanuel Michael, and I go to update my profile. I can update it to Tech Apostle. So when you want to update, so that form you filled, or that's your Facebook, where you go to update your profile picture, update your username and all that, could be used for that purpose. I'm using the word could because some companies use post and some use patch, right? Now, characteristics of put request, the entire resource is replaced and data sent in request body. So we have fetch, just the same way post is, fetch this https api.example.com/user/1, the method is put, and the headers is this and that. Patch means partially updating a resource. It's used to partially update a resource. Now, example, you want to change the user's email. Now, observe something with put here. With put is updating the user info. It can replace a resource, replace the user's information. But for patch, you can just decide specific fields to update. You want to update some fields. You want to update some fields, you can use patch to do that. Example, HTTPS, this, that, method patch, and the rest of it. Then we have delete. Delete is used to remove a resource. The use case could be deleting a user account. So when, for example, you have something you want to delete, you want to delete that photo you've uploaded, you want to delete any resource at all from the system, you use delete. So fetch this the endpoint and then delete. I think we're going to finish this story faster than I thought. So other HTTP methods, options, describes communication options for a resource. Head, fetches headers without the body. Connect establishes a tunnel to the server trace, echoes the received request for diagnostics. Tools for making API requests. Okay, tools for making API requests. We have what we call Postman. Postman is a graphic user interface for testing endpoints. So that URL is most often called an endpoint. Okay. Looking for why is I'm missing it here. And then we have command line tools, CURL, browser dev tools. I think we've had to use these browser dev tools to inspect API calls. Then we have Axios, which is a JavaScript library for HTTP requests. What we call Fetch API. Fetch API is it's a JavaScript inbuilt functionality that helps you to also make HTTP requests. Okay, so that's that for that. There's something I missed out on this slide. I don't know. I think I didn't capture that. Let me just quickly explain that quickly. But do I have that in a different resource? Please hold on. I think I have that in a different resource. I think I have that in a different resource. Please just hold on. Okay. Okay. I think I have it that here. I have that here. So let me quickly explain this. Components of an API request. Components of an API request. Have the endpoint. Endpoint is the URL. Now the URL, that is the address where the API is hosted. Example HTTPS example.com/users. So basically, this is your URL. This is like a normal link. But I tell you this, that this link, this URL is not like the normal URL that you are used to, your facebook.com. No, it's not. This actually has to connect to an API. It has to actually link to an API. And this is always delivered by the backend developer. So a backend developer will always give you this URL. Backend developer will always give you this URL that would be able to allow you to communicate with a database. Then there are methods. I think I've explained these methods already. Specifies the type of action to perform. So method actually specifies what kind of action do you want to perform. And as I mentioned already, there's a get method, there is post, which is get to retrieve data, post create new data, put replace existing data, patch updating part of existing data, and then delete to remove data. So how we call the headers? Headers provide metadata about the request. For example, the content type, either is JSON, XML, or the kind of data you're actually, the kind of, the format of the body you are using to make that request. Then there's authorization, which could be the API key or token for authentication. Could be API key, could be X API key, whatever API, whatever kind of authorization that the system offers you, you capture that in this authorization. There are other examples, there are other metadata examples like X authorization. There is allow, and there are a few other metadata that exist in the request headers. Now body, now it's optional. It's optional. Why is it optional? Because you can make a post request, you can make even a put patch request without the body, but you cannot make those kind of requests without, sorry, you can make a get request without the body. In fact, a get request naturally does not require a body to be sent alongside the request. So what we call query parameters, query parameters is used to pass filters or options in the URL. So you've seen something that looks like this question mark, sort equals to this, and limit equals to then. Now, in this, now, this query, you see this question mark, sort equals to ASC and limit equals to 10. What does that signify? It tells you that, okay, there is an option, there is a field called sort. There's a field called sort. So in this field called sort, do this operation. In the field called limit, give it this value. Sort, give it this value. Limit, give it this value. When it gives those value in your URL, in your database, it returns a certain data that is still tied to this guy, right? So I've already explained the different types, and then yeah, that's that. So let's do a little sample. Let's do something very quickly. Let me do a quick example that will cover a lot of these stuffs. But any questions so far? What we're going to sample? Any questions so far? Okay, I guess there is none. Okay, so let's make some API requests. Let's see. I don't think I can see my screen. So this is what Postman looks like. This is what Postman looks like. So here you have the URL, and here you have the different kind of requests: get, post, put, patch, delete, head options. Now, if I hit this endpoint, it will give me data. So this is data from the what's the name now? From this API, gives me status and all this information that all these are so many different kinds of endpoints that exist. Now, please note, this is just basically what's the word now? It's just basically on call it mock APIs, right? You just make mock APIs, just mock APIs. Let me see what this guy does. Let me see what this guy is about. Oh, yes. Oh no, this one just randomly generates GIFs. Okay, so quotes. So also, I think this is just generate quotes. Let's see. That's one generates just generates random quotes. Let's see news. Okay, historical American news. Let's see what we're going to use for this. So everything here is get. Okay, awesome. So this one has Thames, Oakland, format JSON, and page 5. Oh, okay. This has too much data than we need. Let's look at what music looks like right now. Lyrics search. Oh, nah. Uh, jokes. Let's see. I'm looking for one that we can actually use to test out a few things. I want. This is still giving me a long list workforce. Okay, I think this might give me what I want. Okay, I think we'll be using this one. Car manufacturers. Okay, good. Car manufacturers, system marketing. Okay, perfect. So we're using this one, we're using these car manufacturers to get what we want done. So this is the endpoint we are using. We're going to use our fetch. Let's see what we have here. Index. Go live. Okay, so we're going to have to we're going to do something now. We have that endpoint, and I'm going to populate it in a table. Populate it in a table. So I'm going to have ULLI. So I'll just leave that out. So I'll have a div, and I'll have scripts say source dot slash API.js. Then I'll create an index, sorry, API.js. So I'm just going to keep this for storing safe so I don't misplace it. Okay, so I'm gonna let's start with a fetch request. I think we can only make a good a what's the name now. We can only necessarily make a get request here for now. So we have fetch. I can remember the structure we wrote in our fetch request. So let's say I look like fetch. Where is our get request? I'm just going to get this. I can just use this to explain. So fetch, this is the URL, and this is our response. But now I'm going to have to write the function get all manufacturers. And then I can say fetch this, and then I'll call the function fetch, sorry, get all manufacturers. Get all manufacturers. Okay, so let's this done and check our console. Okay, something is not right somewhere. Okay, I've not saved my API.js. So this is the information. So it has returned to me a response, and the result is this. So these are the results which I've gotten from hitting this particular endpoint. So when I hit this endpoint, I got this information. You can check your network tab for that information also, where you have headers, payload, preview, and see the results here. Now, I say data dot response. That's what we have here. Undefined. Why is it undefined? Okay, state. Why is it undefined? Sorry, not response, not results. Okay, so this is what we have. That's how we use a get request. Now, for post request, there has to be a body if it's a post request. If it's a put request or a patch request, there has to also be a body. Yes. But for get request, you don't ideally and necessarily need a body when it comes to um get request. Now, if you observe, as I mentioned, I didn't need to write get here because already the system acknowledges this as a get request. I have to let me see if I can find APIs to use for post requests. Can I get something to use for post request? Okay, so I think I'll just use JSON placeholder. JSON typicode.com/posts. I think I'll use this to implement something very quickly. I'll use this to implement something defined. I feel so. Okay, perfect. Post, put, and patch. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to do what's more like, let's say, blog. I would use this JSON placeholder right now to do what's more like a blog. So I'm going to take these guys out, and I say H1 my blog. I'm going to have a div. How do I handle this? Let us say an ID, and I call this ID blog container. Then I can now say function this, right? So I can now say then but then arrow inside this arrow function. I would then say let's blog header because document dot create element could create a h4 blog header dot text content equals data dot what do we have here? Data dot title. Okay. Is this error from So we're having this error. Oh, okay. So we have that block header. So let's see how this works. So when we're done, document dot. So let's try something. Document dot. Where are you? Where are you? Okay. Let's give container. Let block container. Also document that gets element by ID. Container. You can now say block container that append child block to do.js. Oh, I still have to do.js here. Okay, so block header dot this. The line not doing correct. I find that one. We have what called data dot for each. Okay. Response. And then we have head block header. Block header dot inner text is this. Then block header dot append child. Okay. So undefined. So let's see what don't we have that's making return undefined. Am I calling the wrong thing title? Calling title, that should be correct. not title, sorry, RES. Perfect. So we have our header. So we can also create a description, use the description response. Say okay, body. So let's just say let's blog body. Blog body cause document that creates element P of body dot inner text is equals to response dot body. Then we also have blog dot body dot append child. So we have to create something that's blog container append child blog body. So what we have here now is we have the header and the body. So I'm going to do some CSS very quickly. So I could say, so I'm just going to append the class this guy, say blog body dot class list dot add blog body. The same way we're going to have blog header dot class list dot add blog header. Blog header. So let's see. Let me confirm that that's working where I need it to work. We have blog header and blog body. Awesome. So I'm going to have to style that. Say dot blog header text transform uppercase blog container. Okay, I'm going to have to do something something first. I need something to work for me. Okay, so let's do it this way first. View dot main blog container. So main blog container is I would have display. I'm sticking where I want. This one's sticking where I want. I have to create another. I have to create something and append that, and then append that. Okay. Let's blog content equals document dot create element div. So what I'm going to do is, instead of blog content, I'm going to load this on blog content. And then at the end of this operation, I could now say blog container dot append child blog content. So blog content dot class list dot add blog content. So here I can then have blog content border 1 pixel solid hash D7. So let's see what it looks like. What did I style? Which of them did I style, please, again? Okay, no content. I think styling I wrote here is not even what I want. Block content. Oh, okay, not there. Let's confirm that again. Block container, block content. So instead of doing that, I'm going to move this guy in here. In the class list. Awesome. Our content is not defined. It's actually defined inside. So let's do this outside. That's still not solved the problem I'm trying to solve. Okay, I think I'm just gonna have to, let's see. What's the deal? It's actually working, but there's something I'm trying to do, and then that will help my design. That will help my UI I'm trying to implement. But it's like this is trying to waste my time. This is blog content. So let's see this again. Say for each you create a blog content. Let's see. Blog content. That's not HTML first and see. Okay. 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 Blog content dot HTML equals. It's a very big risk I'm taking, but let's try something. Oh, blog body. It's very much work. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna have to take this guy out. And, Blog container that's HTML. Okay. We're still fetching only one data. Okay. This worked. That's not what I wanted to do. So we have block container, hash block container. Hash block container display flex direction volume 20 pixels. So the block content. So that block content already block content adding 20 pixels. Other radius. Okay, so then we also have cursor pointer adding top 20 pixels. Okay, so this is the list of blocks. So for example, I want to click on one, and when I click on it, it takes me to another page that probably has an ID or something. So I want to say I can click this div and something happens. So I'll come back here to my this is my blog content. My blog content I want to be able to click, or probably the blog header. I think blog header is a better click. So blog header dot add event listener. And the event listener I'm going to be adding is click. So when I click on this, it should do something for me. Window.location href is equals my blog slash details template retrials and slash response.id. So what happens here in this case is that once I click on this, it should take me to another page. This is now my blog slash details slash one, but the page does not exist. So I'm going to have to create that page. I'm going to have to create that page. So I'll create the page to be blog details .html. Blog. What's on that page again? I'm just going to call it details.html. details.html. So from my API.js, I'll go to details /details/ response.id. So here I can have let's see. So I'll go back. I can have this taking me to my blog. Did it save? Okay, so good details/1. Div or main details page. So I'm going to modify something very quickly here. So details query blog ID equals to this. I do not see my details page. I do not see my details page. What happened? Oh, sorry. Details.html. Sorry, details.html. Sorry. Okay, so this should give us what we're looking for. Details.html blog ID is equals to 1. So now on this page, I need to retrieve this ID and use this ID to now get the details of that particular blog. So first off, I need to get the so I'm going to create a function to retrieve no, I don't need to, I have to create new file details.js retrieve ID. So function retrieve ID. What would this function do? I'll create a constant params that would say new URL search params window dot location dot search. So I can now say constant. What ID is that? That's blog ID. Constant blog ID equals params dot get. What am I getting is the blog ID. So console blog ID. So I'm going to have to import my script here. Script source dot slash details.js. So if I go back here, I should be able to find one because that is the ID of this blog. So there's an endpoint to now get a single blog details, which is post slash. So let's go to details. This is the endpoint to get a single blog details. So I'll just come here, get this information here for the sake of time. Of typing everything afresh. I'll just do this and I'll take all these out first. Data, I wouldn't need this anymore. So post slash. So I have this post slash, then I'll change this to the ID which I just got. It is blog ID. So let's see what we have when this is done. Let's see. Okay, 404 not found. Why? Because I have probably not linked the right endpoint. So the endpoint has this part which I did not copy in. Okay, so this should work. Good. So this is the details of that particular blog. So I can now implement this here. Where's my details page? So details page, I can now say div. And I call this ID details page. Then say constant details container cause document dot get element by ID. I've forgotten the ID now. Details page. Details page. Details page. So here I will now have the title and the body. The title and the body document. Let's I think I'll just borrow. Let me just borrow this title I created here. Let's borrow this title and body I created here. Yeah, I'll just borrow them. So I don't need the blog content at this point. I don't need this. I just need the blog header. So I'll just have okay. API.js. So where is it? So I'll have no longer the rest to the body.title, and then we have details container.append child blog header details container.append child blog body. So let's see what that page looks like right now. Okay, something is not correct. Something is throwing an error. Body, where is body? Which one? Where is body? Body is not defined. Body is not defined. Am I doing body or data? Sorry, not body, data. Data. So this is now what our blog looks like. This, and then this is the body. Now, for this particular endpoint, for this particular what's the name? This particular test we're using, it has something called comments. So you can actually pick comments of this system. So I could just create document dot create element. Let's let's not do this. So I'm gonna say details. So I'm going to create a H4 and call it what do I call this H4 now? Comments. Comments. I'm going to do something here. ID comments list. Okay, so in this comment now I'm going to get the comments here of this particular post. So I think I'm going to have to take these guys out. Let it be up here so that I can use them. Like, let me just declare them in global scope so I can use it whenever I need to use it. So I can now say function get comments. Just use this guy. Take out these ones. So I have comments query post ID is equals to 1. So I'll just replace this. Okay. So when this is all done, I can now say get comments. So when I get comments, I should have a list of comments down here, post ID, the name of the person that commented, the person's email, and the body of the comment. So I should be able to implement that very quickly. So details page, I have div ID, call it comments. Okay, so I feel like doing something very interesting here. Let's see. So I call this comment list, comment header. Call this comment header. I want to try something. You know what I tried some things. So let's just try something very quickly. Comment header, yes. Document, don't get element by ID. Comment header. comment header. So I'm just going to say let comment header equals this. So comment header dot text content plus equal to data dot length. Let's try this. If this doesn't work, I will skip it and move on to something else. I expect it to work. And bracket close. So let's see. I'm expecting a particular result from this. Yes, perfect. So what I just needed to do was I wanted to check. I wanted to show how many comments are in this particular system. So I could go back and I check this one. Comments, still 5 comments. This is still 5 comments. Okay. So considering the fact that we have comments already sorted out, let's do this. So let's now let's now show up with our comments. So data dot for each, data dot for each, data dot for each. Let's use our name because the document creates elements. It should be H5. Username is equal to element dot what's the first thing there? Element dot something was there. Element dot email. And let's content equals document dot create element e content rather equals element dot body. So here let's comment body equals document get element by ID. What's the ID of this stuff? Comments. Here is comments. So we have comment body dot append child and comment body dot append child content. So let's see what we have and what it looks like right now. Okay, append child on node parameter 1 is not type of node. Okay, so where is the error coming from? Comments body constant comments body documents. Okay. Fail to execute. Where's the problem from? Okay. Okay, so trying to find out where our error is coming from. That's giving me that challenge. Oh, sorry. Send it. Text content. Text content. Okay, found the culprit. So these are the comments we have: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So ladies, we've built a very ugly blog. It's not fine in any way, but at least a blog that works. So we have this. These are the blog contents, which we can click on each, and then we get the details of a particular blog. So any questions?